Will we bring in now Daniel Solana? Daniel Solana, when you heard the news of the big trade, and we're not talking about Jimmy Butler, we're not talking about PJ Tucker, what was your initial reaction?
I mean, I woke up this morning and I was like, what is going on? I don't know if you guys have seen that GIF of like somebody's head exploding. Well, that was me. That was me, fellas, this morning. I was absolutely surprised. I could not believe that Luka Doncic is on his way to LA. And I feel like Dallas, I don't know what they're doing, but I feel like they got fleeced on this. They got absolutely fleeced.
Apparently, Luka was kind of putting up some Jimmy type of tendencies, like not wanting to get fit, not listening to them, not wanting to do what they wanted him to do, at least conditioning. So they finally got fed up with him, it seems like.
Yeah, but all they got in return was the brow and a couple players and a pick. I would, if you start looking at prior trades, Gobert went for what, 4 first rounders. I think I forget who it was. Somebody else went for 3 first rounders. So the fact that
but none of these guys
only got one for Luka.
But none of these guys are superstars. Like everybody's looking at it.
Which makes it even worse. If Gobert goes for 4 first rounders.
Right, but this is the one time where a superstar is actually being traded for another superstar. So we're acting like Anthony Davis is not a defensive player of the year and one of the top 3 big men in the league, and a guy that plays on both ends of the court. So if you're looking at Dallas, a team that went to the NBA Finals last year, and you add Anthony Davis to shore up that front court with Lively and Gafford, you got Kyrie, who's a closer, and you got Dinwiddie. I think this is a team. I think this trade is better now for Dallas, but better for the long run for the Lakers. So that's why I think it's beneficial for both parties. I just don't think we, as sports fans and sports media, have ever been in a situation where we didn't even get a scent of this being a rumor. We didn't get a whiff. Nobody said something crazy like 2 years ago, and then like they can go back to him like, well, remember this person said this trade was going to happen 2 years ago. We were so kept in the dark that we're upset that we were kept in the dark. That's why, and it happened so late. So now you had to sleep on it. You formulated so many ideas and opinions. But if you really take a step back and look at it, it's a fair trade. It's really a fair trade for both parties.
We'll find out. Time will tell that one. Brought Daniel Solana in, though, because Inter Miami is really getting to some action. I know you're probably excited. They brought in an Uruguayan, but they also dealt Fernando Farias. Kind of keep us up to date. And I know tonight, Sporting San Miguelito in Panama. Break it down. What's going on with Inter Miami right now, Daniel?
That's right. Inter Miami has their 3rd game of the preseason tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern. They play against San Miguelito from Panama. Sorry, fellas, but I got my son here who's
bring him in
at home, and he wants to come in on here as well. So
there it is. 3rd generation Solana.
There it is. We got 4 generations of Solanas that have been on the radio. So, but yeah, man. Absolutely. So yeah, Inter Miami plays today. Just like you said, Dan, they signed El Peluca, which is a Uruguayan, Maxi Falcon to be our center back. And I tweeted it earlier in the week. I think he's probably going to be the best defender. Obviously, I'm leaving out here Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba is more of an offensive player, but I think he's going to be the best defender that Inter Miami has on the roster this season. And you mentioned Facundo Farias. So Facundo Farias is, unfortunately, he got dealt back to Argentina, to Estudiantes de La Plata. He had a rough tenure here while he was at Inter Miami. We saw some promising things from him last year. Unfortunately, he got hurt in the preseason, if you remember, in one of the earlier preseason games, tore his ACL. And that's his 2nd torn ACL in his career. So that's really, really tough to come back from. So while, I think he could have been something special for this team, I think Inter Miami made the right move in dealing him and sending him back to Argentina and seeing if he can, kind of rejuvenate his career.
MLS season starts for Inter Miami February 22nd. NYCFC will be in town. With the way this team is constructed, should we expect more greatness from them like we had last year? Are they going to be better? Could they possibly be worse? What is your outlook on this upcoming season for Inter Miami?
I think this is going to be probably the best team Inter Miami has assembled in their short history. Obviously, we know of the Fantastic Four, but what they did this year is they got rid of, and I mean, I'm sorry, a little sorry for putting it this way. It's a little harsh, but they got rid of a lot of dead weight, a lot of players who, weren't giving what they needed or what the team needed in order to make it into that next step. And what they did was they brought in some players like Gonzalo Lujan, who hasn't yet been announced, but he's going to be our backup right back. He's going to challenge Marcelo Wigant for that right back position, who a lot of fans have been against him. I think that he's shown a little bit better promise this season than last year. Of course, he came in the middle of last season, and it's tough to get adapted to a league when you're coming in the middle of the season. So you want to say something? Okay. So, it's going to be really good. They brought in, like I said, Maxi Falcon to reinforce the back line. And then I'm also extremely impressed with what Noah Allen has been doing in the preseason. Noah Allen has really showed up as that center back that Inter Miami could have been missing all of last season. I mean, he's been given some strife about his height. He's a short guy, but he's done an excellent job in the preseason of showing that his height is not going to be a big deal and he can play that position. And it goes to show, look at who his coach was and look at, where his coach played. Mascherano, when he was at Barcelona, he played center back. So I think that Mascherano is helping Noah Allen out. And I think overall, this team defensively is going to be better. And let's get into the goalie talk, because I know you guys, I don't know if you guys,
you're done with calendar, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you saw what I posted on social media this week. I've been done with calendar. I've been done with calendar since last year. I mean, at this point, and again, it's not a knock on him. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, but he leaves a lot to be desired for when it comes to playing with his feet, when it comes to distributing the ball from the back. He's just a very nervous. All right, buddy. So he's just a very nervous player back there. And unfortunately, I think it's time for him and the team to part ways. I really like what Oscar Ustadi has been giving us in the back. He played one game last season, had a clean sheet, played earlier this week against Universitario in a very rough game up there with 80,000 folks in the stadium. And he had a shutout. I think he's the right person to go. He has, the experience. He's played big games. He's played on the national stage. And I think he's ready to be the starting goalkeeper for Inter Miami this year.
Do you think, let me ask you this, all right, with calendar. Do you think because of the style that the team plays, that's why do you think they need a new goalie? Because of the fact that the team will give you a little bit more counters, so that you want to have a guy that's up to the task, knowing that there might be some possessions where, they're at a disadvantage and he has to play smart goalkeeping in order to make sure that it's not a surplus of goals being scored.
Look, I don't think it's so much of a fact of a surplus of goals being scored, because let's be honest, fellas. Last year, I mean, it's not Drake Calendar's fault that Inter Miami didn't win the MLS Cup. It's not his fault that he got all those goals scored on him. I mean, it obviously comes down to the defense and the goalkeeper. But I do, believe with what you said, Vlad, at the beginning, that it's the style of play that this team wants to play. They want to come out playing from the back. And I don't know if you guys watched the game against the Peruvian team, Universitario, but there was a number of occasions where it was just, and I mentioned it, you didn't have to grind your teeth. You didn't have to be nervous about where the ball was going to go. You knew that with Ustadi and the ball at his feet, it was going to be okay. And they were able to come out playing a number of times without any issues. And that's exactly what you want to see from this team, especially with the amount of talent and the type of players that they have put together for this upcoming season.
I want to transition to the U.S. men's national team. How have they looked since Pochettino has kind of put his thumbprint on the team? Do you think there's been improvement, or do you think it's, I hate to say it, more of the same from the U.S. men's national team?
I think you need to give. No, Vlad, no, I don't think so. I think Pochettino is actually going to be a fantastic coach for the men's national team. I think you've seen some players come out and say that, they're willing to give it all for him. Obviously, you can't really judge them based off of these last couple games that they played against Venezuela. And I forgot I think it was Costa Rica that they played against. I don't think you can judge them off those games just because he didn't have a full roster. It was a very limited roster where it was mostly MLS players and not a lot of players from overseas. I don't think anybody. So, I don't think you can judge him based off of those two games, but I really do think that he is a good football mind. again, he's played at the highest level. He's coached at the highest level. He's coached some of the best players in the world. And, I think for the U.S. men's national team, that's what they needed. They needed somebody that wasn't from inside the U.S. men's national team pool, kind of like how we had the last few was the Greg Berhalters, where you had, Bruce Arena, which to me, Bruce Arena goes down as one of the best coaches of U.S. all time just for what he's done. But really, you needed somebody that was outside of this U.S., men's national team pool. And I think they made the right move and pulled the trigger on Pochettino.
Let me ask you really quickly about Champions League. We saw that crazy Wednesday where everybody played, and we now know who the 8 teams that are qualified automatically, and then now we're in a knockout playoff round draw. Other than the big game, which is Manchester City versus Real Madrid, what other game interests you in these 8 matchups?
I mean, I haven't really studied all of them. I'm going to pull them up right now.
No, it's Brest versus PSG, Club Brugge versus Atalanta.
Yeah, I got it now. I mean, really,
Madrid.
the two other games that I think really interest me, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the schedule, but really, I'm really interested in that Sporting Dortmund game. I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup. Sporting, is one of the better teams in Portugal. Dortmund, I mean, who doesn't know Dortmund with that, with the fans, those crazy fans that they always have at all the games. I think that's going to be a great one. And also, the other one that could be pretty interesting could be that Juventus PSV. PSV historically has good young players. And if I'm not mistaken, Juventus is not having the greatest of seasons. So that could be one of the upsets in this next round. Obviously, I know a lot of U.S. men's national teams fans are going to be watching that Inter Milan versus the Feyenoord because, Pulisic and all the, American stuff. But hey, now the Americans and the Mexicans are going to have to get along because AC Milan just signed Santi Jimenez. So we're going to see Santi Jimenez, one of the young promises of the Mexican national team, play alongside with, with Captain America and Christian Pulisic over there in AC Milan. So that could be something that, the U.S. men's national team's fans look forward to watching. But those to me are probably the more interesting matches to watch in this second round.
And last but not least, Daniel Solana, does Jimmy Butler get dealt this week? And if he does, where does he go?
Gosh, I hope so. And it's got to happen. This guy, unfortunately, is been a cancer over the last few months to the team. And it hasn't even been him. It's happened at every single place that he's gone. And unfortunately, I think his time in a Miami Heat uniform should be done. And if it was my choice, I would take, Wiggins or Kuminga and picks. At this point, I just want to get him out of here. And, I'm willing to take the best possible, transaction that we could get. In Riles, I trust, fellas. In Riles, I trust. Always.
I do that too. I would love to see a little Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones come our way for Jimmy Butler in New Orleans. But
what about Zion?
I'll do that. I'm open for business, man. I'm open for business. I actually like Brandon Ingram.
It might be time to get the fatties out, man, out of their cities and move them to
Luka.
Look what happened with Luka. Might be time to get the fatties out, bro.
There's a health wave in the NFL.
In the NBA.
Is this not the best organization? But is the Miami Heat not the best organization for somebody who's maybe a little indisciplined or who's lacking that culture?
Listen, we know it. His people know it. And New Orleans probably know it. But the thing about it is, are they going to sit down and talk and come to a decision to make it happen? Probably not. Cool. But yeah, we all know, Zion, you want to be everything that's been thrown upon you, been expected of you.
Okay,
go to Miami.
As a Heat fan, do you want that? Do you want Zion for Jimmy Butler? Basically, straight up, let's just say it.
Of course, they're going to want that. They're going to want 25 years over 35. Listen, where do you think everybody's going crazy for the Lakers and Mavs deal? If this was 31-year-old Luka and 31-year-old AD, nobody would be happy with this trade. But because Luka's 25, that looks way better than 31. So if you're talking about the Heat in a trade for Zion for Jimmy, that is 35 going on 36 against 25, who hasn't even really scratched his prime yet because he's not been in shape.
The injuries, though, would have to concern you a little bit.
But right? The youth doesn't.
Okay. I'm just
right. Like that's it, right? Right, Daniel. Like the youth. Like you know what you've done with 6 years of Jimmy. You don't know what 6 years of Zion could be, but you know that if you have 6 years of Zion in his prime, it could be something special.
I'm gonna take you back on a ride into the past for really quickly, and I want to mention a player who was a disgruntled player coming out of the New York Knicks organization. Pat Riley brought him down to Miami. Anthony Mason. Anthony Mason reminds me not a little bit like Zion, but I'm talking about body type. Both lefties, big bodies. When Anthony Mason came down here, he had a great year. Now, Zion has so much more potential and such a much higher ceiling. But what I'm saying, absolutely, yeah. But hey, Mace
was already strong. Like Mace, there was nothing worried about Mace's
give him one off season in the Miami Heat conditioning system and let's see what happens.
This is what I want next season to happen. Ready for 2025, 2026? This is what I want. Luka with LeBron for a summer for his conditioning, and Zion Williamson traded to Miami and for a summer under the Heat condition, under Heat culture. And I bet you when it's when middle of September comes and it's the opening of the NBA season when they're taking their pictures and saying hi and how great. When we see Luka all muscular and Zion all ripped and everything, I wonder what the league is going to say now. Then there's going to be a new thought process going on with these players, because now when you see that, you already know their skills are there, but now that you see that they're showing the commitment to the conditioning, then the league is going to be in a great place. So, Heat fans, in these next 4 days, we know trades can happen because we just saw one this morning that happened that shocked the world. We know something can happen. Let's hope that Pat Riley and the Heat make something happen.
Daniel, you're a lifelong Heat fan. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. Oh, Jonnu Smith just caught a pass in the Pro Bowl. I'll let you get to the Pro Bowl. I know you're excited about this flag football game going on, Daniel Solana.